Hi, I'm Scott Humphrey, CEO of the World Floor Covering Association, and this is Leadership Live. This week on Leadership Live, we're in Leadership by the Letter, the second week with the letter M, and the word is move. I've chosen that word for a couple of reasons, one personal and one professional, but let me start with the definition for you. The definition of move simply says to make progress or develop in a particular manner or direction. Now, sometimes when I give you a definition, it may not strike you, and so sometimes it helps to understand the opposite of that word, the antonym. So let me give you a couple that will help you better understand what I'm focusing on with the word move. Stagnancy. Think about stagnant water. Is that good for you? No, you want to stay away from that. And that's what happens to our lives when we choose not to move. Another word that would be an opposite of move would be the word complacency. I would even tell you that the word satisfaction to some degree can be a bad word if we live there. And I'll go into that more in just a moment. So let me begin with the personal side. Physical inactivity accounts for roughly 8.7% of all healthcare costs in the United States. That's about $117 billion per year. In fact, research goes on to show that if you live an active lifestyle, that means you exercise roughly an hour a day, each day of the week, then you will cut your healthcare costs for somewhere between $1,500 and $3,000 per year. Let me go even further. If you choose the inactive lifestyle, either on purpose or by accident, life just kind of closes in on you and you forget to take care of yourself, you double the risk of cardiovascular disease, diabetes, obesity, colon cancer, high blood pressure, anxiety, and depression. That should be a pretty good reason for you to get out there and move. Do something physical to take care of yourself. Let me tell you something, and I don't ask you to spend a lot of time in front of it, but I would tell you one of your best friends is a mirror. Some of you need to get in front of a full body mirror and look at yourself and say, okay, am I satisfied with the person that I am? Not because it's all about the looks, but because it is about the health. You can't lead if you're not healthy. You can't lead if you're not around. So you've got to take care of yourself. But there is also a business cost to not moving. There's a business cost to complacency. Let me give you 5 costs of complacency. 1, you lose your competitive edge. The things that got you there aren't motivating you anymore. You've satisfied, you've settled. Number 2, you tolerate mediocre performance. After all, if you stopped and you've stayed, then you're living in mediocrity as well. Number 3, your competitors gain market share because they're doing the things that got you where you are, the same things that you're no longer doing. I don't care if it's on the sports field, if it's in the business arena. If you quit because you've reached a plateau, somebody will continue to work harder. Michael Phelps said he always worked out on Sunday because he figured he gained that many days every year on his competition by working out on a day when they would not work out. Number 4, your better employees will leave you if you become complacent. They stayed with you because they loved the momentum. They saw you accomplishing something. They bought into the dream. But when the dream dies, they move on. They're not going to stay. Finally, in the end, number 5, you lose your customers, you lose your money, and ultimately, you can lose your business. Listen, history is full of good people who could have been great leaders, but they chose not to move when the opportunity presented itself. Or great companies that could have been phenomenal, world-changing companies, but they no longer exist because they waited for the world to do it their way versus changing the way that they approached their business and the way that they approached the world. There is a cost to complacency. There is a need to move. Let me close with this story. There was a missionary couple who had served from the United States in Africa for a while, and they brought back a group of African pastors to speak at a conference. And while they were there, the African pastors decided they would like to go out shopping in the town. Now, the missionaries realized that there's a good chance somebody's going to get lost. This is back in the time of payphones. So they gave everyone their phone number in case they got lost. And sure enough, within an hour, they get a phone call from an African pastor who says, listen, I'm in the city. I have no idea where I'm at. I am lost. And so the missionary said, just put the phone down for a second, walk to the corner of the street and tell me what the 2 street signs say. That'll tell me where you are and I'll help you find your way. So he puts the phone down. This African pastor goes and looks. He comes back and he says, I am at the corner of walk and don't walk. There are a lot of people that are at the corner of walk and don't walk. They've settled, they've stayed, they're complacent, and they've become stagnant. I'm going to tell you, to be the leader you need to be, to make the difference that you need to make, to inspire others, to fulfill their purpose, you got to get out there. You got to move. Now go out there and lead.